Don't sit there.
We'll get started on this. I thought we were gonna have more people. I had several emails from a lot of people saying they were gonna be here, so. But this will work. We can make this work. All right, Chris Whitford is here to tape this for us, and he's going to put this on the internet. And
Yes.
thank you, by the way, Chris. All right. Purpose of this is IPMS rules. Everybody wants to know what IPMS is looking for. You guys need to be trained up, especially for the regionals coming up. Shows to this point have been, we could get away with what we got away with, but being a regional, we're going to have, the judges are going to have to be qualified. They're going to have to be to this point, in my opinion, all right? And I'm going to cover something here that's going to kind of change that, but we'll get to that. IPMS USA, this is the rule book. I printed this off from the IPMS website, IPMS.org. Go in there, go to the national convention, print it off, and it tells you everything you're looking for, okay? They've actually changed a little bit since I looked at it last. You guys are welcome to thumb through it, look at it, print it off. But I did highlight some areas in this thing. All right, to begin with, these models right here, these three, have all won nationals. They're 3 or 4 years old. Chuck indicated he didn't see a grab handle. And and that's a good hush. That's a good point. He didn't show a grab handle, which in a normal contest, that would throw it out. If you look at this one, I have glued a missile back on one side of this, and you will see glue spots. I was hoping somebody would point that out as well, but they didn't.
I didn't look at it.
All right. All three of these won. This one's first. I think that one was second or third. This was second. All built to what they're saying in these rules and guidelines. This particular one, I went back, stretched the sprue. All this is the toy model that they were from years and years ago. They had little things you push and it shot out the missiles and all this other stuff. Like that Raider Dennis you brought to the show there. I basically went through, built it up. They didn't have a cockpit or a pilot or anything, it was just a clear piece, so I just sprayed that in, just spruced it up a little bit. Like I said, that one won second, one of the nationals, I don't remember which one. These all three were built out of the box, okay? This one, this F-18 was one of these Revell $17 kits. It went up against, it's got best aircraft, judge's choice, best in show, first place, et cetera, and it's gone up against stuff that was super, super highly detailed. It's just because if you look at it, I don't think I've repaired any of that, but true, the ordnance is all lined up the way it's supposed to be. Wheels, tires, and landing gear is all true, 90-degree angles, everything is symmetrical. You look at the wings, all this lines, the tailplanes line up on, everything's plumb, right? That's what this IPMS thing is, it's basics. Same thing here. This model, like I said, I've got the track separated from a couple of the wheels. I don't think I've got any floaters, but from age, things have popped loose, but I wanted to bring it to kind of show you, want to see what you can find wrong with it. Chuck found a grab handle, and then he found an inconsistent seam right here. Well, whoever judged at the Nationals didn't see the inconsistent seam, so it passed muster. Again, I'd like for you guys to get on the website and read through this thing, but I highlighted some things that needs to be, brought to everyone's attention. Amps. Everybody likes amps. Numbering system. It's, supposedly, with a numbering system, it's more objective. At the end of the day, I'll tell you exactly what. Let's see. Numbers are often used to create the appearance of objectivity, but the assignment of a 4 or 7 to an entry by judge is essentially subjective, as is that judge's decision. Same thing with judging models at a show. You can give it a number, you can say this, you can say that. It's all the same stuff, okay? What we do is look at the whole model and try to determine how well the modeler did in bringing his project to completion. That's what IPMS does, okay? And then there's another part down here that says, throughout the judging process, the first and most important things the judges consider are the basics, okay? Basics. plumb? Is everything lined up? Is everything true? Is everything symmetrical? Is everything look the way it's supposed to? Years and years ago, when I first started judging, I had a guy tell me, as a matter of fact, it was Phil Hale, told me, he said, James, look at that model. If that ordnance is hanging wrong, would the airplane fly that way? No. If this stabilator is hanging down, would that airplane fly that way? No. If that canopy, if it's closed and you see a big old seam in it, is that airplane going to fly that way? And I said, well, yeah, if it's just sitting on the ground, you have closed it. He said, no, it's not going to fly that way. Tank, same thing. If you look at the road wheels and they're all camouflaged all the way down, is the tank going to drive that way? No. All right, even the sci-fi stuff. A lot of guys give sci-fi a lot of grief because, well, that's sci-fi. Still, it's got to be plumb. I can't have this sci-fi piece, I can't have this wing lower than this wing, and I can't have this thing cocked over that way because if it was real, it wouldn't fly, okay? So basics, truing it up, plumbing it out, okay? They've got a thing here about what qualifies somebody to be a judge in IPMS. Basically, they like to have some experience under your belt. They want you to go through the OJT training with the Nationals. I've done all that. I stay current with the judging. I go to all the regionals, judge at all the shows. They like you to judge at least once every 5 years in the Nationals to stay current as a national judge. I've kept that qualification. I'm actually going to be judging at the Nationals in Virginia. I've already been contacted about that. So, and they've got, in this, they basically tell you what they need from you as a Nationals judge. Integrity, you don't discuss results till after the show, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but we're not worried about that. Go to the website for that. All right. And we come to the modeling basics. And they give you the whole breakdown. I'm not going to bore you with all that, but it comes down to three things. You got construction, you got painting, and you've got decals. That's the three basic items, okay? Each one they go through and give you what you're looking for. Take, for instance, construction. All right, flash, sink, mold, ejector pin marks, trademarks, and any provisions for motorization, etc. are eliminated. Now, what I'm telling you here is not out of the box. This is if you're building the kit, adding aftermarket, doing all that. This is their basic stuff there. Any openings are blanked off or have the field of vision obstructed. A figure that blocks the view through an armored vehicle's open hatch, for example, to prevent a see-through effect, or if not, show the appropriate detail inside. Your Raider that you brought to the Hope It Don't Snow show was a perfect example of that. That Raider had tons of see-through, you know, because it had the little missiles that used to fire out of it. You could look through and see daylight out the back. They don't like that. This model, and that's the reason why I brought it, this actually had the same thing in the front. But if you look inside, it's blanked off, it's been puttied, it's been painted, you don't see that. This was one of their toys that I fixed up for competition. They want all that blanked off, taken care of, you don't see into it. I went to a show, matter of fact, Chuck, I think you were there, that Tiger that I had.
Yeah.
They were looking down into the rear deck to see if I had blanked that off. Because it was between me and another guy for first. And that's what won me first, was because I blanked off that engine deck and you couldn't see down inside. The other guy didn't. You could see the plastic through the engine deck. That knocked him a second.
That was an Anderson, wasn't it?
Yep. Seams are filled, if not present on the actual prototype. Subject with visible seams, such details should be uniform and to scale throughout the model. Correct cross-section of rounds and cylindrical oval parts is maintained. If it's like barrels, that's a big thing. You see a round barrel, but there's a flat spot on the top and a flat spot on the bottom because they're trying to get rid of the seam. You eliminated the seam, but you made a flat spot on the barrel, so that just knocked you out. Gotta be round because the barrel was round. All components aligned. Any clear parts, windshields, vision blocks, canopies should be free of glue marks or scratch cracks unless they are part of the weathering of the subject. Detail removed, filling seams, that kind of stuff. Painting. The model surface once painted should show no signs of the construction process such as glue, file, sanding marks, fingerprints, etc. Okay, and trust me, I've come up with a lot of models that were built beautifully and there was a fingerprint right there or a fingerprint right there. All right, he's out because go freaking fingerprint. get into scale painting, but like this model here, if you look at it, there's several different shades of gray. It's consistent, it's what's on the real aircraft, so that's okay. Now, if you do, say you build this model as a factory fresh model coming out, it's pristine, clean, and everything else, and you go to the cockpit, you see where they've done scratch marks and they've done where it looks dirty, that'll bump you out because it's not consistent with the finish. All right, if this is new, that's new. If this is worn, that's new. You can't have a brand spanking new cockpit and have a plane that's 100 mission, been on 100 missions, okay? Same thing with this. When you weather, you can't have brand new track links sitting on a tank that's been out, in the mud and snow and ice and rain. It has to rust, and stuff rusts. Science fiction, even though it's science fiction, you still have to, like the weather on this, you see where it's been hit by lasers, whatever, it still needs to be consistent. You can't have this dirty and that clean. It's got to be a consistent overall finish. Of course, there should be no brush marks or hairs, lint, or dust on the finish, right? And there's been tons of times when I've looked at the model and there's cat hair in the paint. There's, somebody's something in the paint, and you go, that come off. Well, I just gained you for that because it's in the paint. Sorry, it's just simple stuff like that. No orange peel or eggshell. Okay, that's like, that holds true in these things too, because I've seen orange peel on flat jets and stuff like that. Big time in cars, you can't get away with that. There should be no differences in sheen of finish or whitening caused by misapplication of final clear coats or glossiness caused by washes. And there's been plenty of times where I've seen one of these built up, and most of it looks great. And you get over here, oh, that's glossy. Why is that wing edge glossy? And it's just because they didn't finish the dull coating of the subject. Well, that's inconsistent finish, so I got to give you for that. Paint edges that should be sharp, framing on aircraft canopies, etc. No effects of bad masking. Edges that are supposed to be soft or feathered should be in scale without overspray. Chuck and I have had this discussion many times about models we judge where guys, and I should have brought one of those, but when you have a soft edge spray on a military aircraft, it should be a soft edge, nice consistent edge, not a soft edge with splatters of paint and come back around splatters of paint where it looks like you may have spit or something. That's what they're talking about after.
Or it would look like a mist of paint.
In mist of paint, exactly. So that's got to be consistent as well. Dry brushing, that's another thing. You come up, look at a model, especially armor, somebody's dry brushed it, it looks dry brushed. You see the brush strokes where they dry, you can't do that. Dry brushing is to pick out highlights to give it a three-dimensional look. It doesn't need to look like you've used a brush to do it. You see the brush strokes, you just defeated the whole process. All right, so when you dry brush it, it's all about being very light on what you're doing. Just pull out the detail. Don't try and act like you're painting it because you're killing what you're trying to do. All right. And then when we get, and this is a pet peeve of mine, we go to these shows and I get I'm judging with 4 other guys, and it's color shades should not be used to determine a model's accuracy. All right. I've had guys come up to me and say, well, I don't know about that. I don't think that's right. I'm sorry, but this was done from photographs. And by the way, go out to an aircraft carrier. This is clean compared to what those things look like. So yeah, you don't use any of that. You're looking again at the basics. And out of these models, basics alone on each one of these, and I'm going to kind of point out, is what's going to throw you out of competition. All right, just about every one I saw something basic instruction that will throw you out of a competition. Let's see, and this is another big one. Weathering is inherently neither good nor bad. When comparing a model with a weathered finish to a model with a pristine finish, the judges will concern themselves with the degree of success achieved by each builder in depicting the intended finish. Take, for instance, that Le Mans Porsche that I did, it's all dirtied up, been driving through mud and dirt and this, that, and the other. And I sit right here next to Chuck's Porsche. Two are being judged side by side. Weathering doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about the mud. What you're looking at, do the tires line up? Do the mirrors line up? Are there any marks on the windshield from fingerprints? You're looking at basics. It doesn't matter that it's weathered. All right, this tank here, this one's weathered up, looks nasty. Chuck's is fairly clean. It's weathered, but clean next to this one. You're judging the two. That doesn't matter. You're looking for basics. Are the wheels lined up? Or are the grab handles in there? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the weathering and stuff, again, that's IPMS. They're letting you know weathering is not the issue. You don't weather, because I had an F4 Phantom, went to the Nationals. Yeah, it was F4 Phantom, and one of the guys gigged me because he felt it was weathered too much. And the head judge said he should not have looked at that, but he did. It is what it is, so, you know. No big deal. All right, decals should be aligned properly. Now, this is something new because before decals was kind of low on the whole. That was what made, if you had 4 models that were perfect, and okay, well, let's look at the decals. Let's see if that'll knock somebody out. Well, now they're saying that's part of the 3-step phase. Decals should be aligned properly. If the real prototype had a markings anomaly, the modeler should document it. That's the other thing. Document what you do. There should be no silvering or bubbling of decal film. Okay? That knocks a lot of people out. Decal should snuggle around details, corners smoothly. Decal should blend in with the rest of the finish to look painted on. Like this is a prime example. The decals on this, the decals were old, they were rough, but I used what was in the box, and just through sheer determination, I was able to get all these decals to look like they were painted on to the model. Some of them may actually be paint, because they broke up on them in a couple places. Decals should have the same sheen as the rest of the model unless they are simulating a different type of surface, such as a glass window on a brick building. Okay? Then when you go through, they have class-specific basics, all right? Aircraft, armor, cars, ships, sci-fi. Aircraft, wings, tailplanes have the same dihedral or anhedral on both sides. Wings and stabilizers are aligned correctly, identically on both sides, the center line. Fin and stabilizer angles are correct. That's what I was telling you earlier. Everything just be plumb true. Engine nacelles, cowlings lined up correctly in front, side, plan views, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? This is the stuff that I've been telling you guys forever and a day. Weathering, if present, should show concern for scale, size, and chipped areas. You know, instead of, so I've seen models where these guys have like 32nd scale, they got these big, huge chunks. It wouldn't look like that on the real one. I mean, honestly, it doesn't go with the rest of the weathering he's done. It's inconsistent. Again, I think you and I'll talk about that. Detailing, contour errors have been corrected. Means if this tailplane, it looks like this, then that's what it should look like. Don't cut half of it off because you're trying to fix an issue with the tailplane. Make it look like it's supposed to. Basically, detailing. Also, ordnance, that's another big one. I see a lot of guys who do a beautiful job on the model, but when it comes to the ordnance, they don't finish it. There's seams in the ordnance. You have a beautiful model, but there's seams in the ordnance. Why would you do such a thing? The ordnance, the little nitpicky things around the airplane should be as well as that. Same thing with one of these, like the guns. I drilled those out, painted them, made sure everything was round. Again, I spent as much time on the little guns here as I did the rest of the model because it's got to be consistent. It's got to look right. I'm not going to bore you with all the like armored military vehicles, same thing. Bore out your gun. You know, your guns need to be bored out. You need machine guns need to have that drilled into it, etc. This is the basic stuff. All right. Equipment that's on the tank should have straps tying it down, not just suspended in that, you know, floating. It's got to show some way of tie down. I think, Chuck, you did a pretty good job. You got all yours pretty well tied in place. Put something on the back of it. Just shot yourself down. Stowage, charts, bedrolls, chains, fuel cans have been added and have some method by which such others, which I told you. Photo etch parts that require forming are precisely shaped, and any surfaces requiring building up to a thicker cross section should be smooth and uniform. I can't tell you how many photo etch parts have knocked people out of competition because they weren't shaped right. They were bent funky. They were this way. They didn't go with the model, so sorry, you're out. Cable electrical lines are added to lights, smoke dischargers, and other electrical equipment where appropriate. molded on parts that simulate things separated from the subject, such as tools, cables. A lot of guys, tools and stuff, you can tell that it was just a model piece and that it doesn't look like you could take it off. And then we go through automotive. And again, I'm not going to go through all this, so that way y'all can go through this. It goes on basically what you're looking for to show. They cover space, science fiction, dioramas. Why didn't this model win? This is judging and competition frequently asked questions. And trust me, I've been asked these questions. I've had people mad at me because, one comment heard at times in the contest room after the awards bank was, how could this model not have won? Look at the detailing in the yada, yada, yada. The simple answer to the question is usually the basics. And again, when I walk up to a table as an IPMS judge, I can pick out my top 4 or 5 and I walk up to the table. Sometimes I can pick my top 3. As soon as I walk up to the table, I say, that's 1, 2, 3, and I'm done. With that being said, though, the IPMS guys that do a odd-numbered groups, that way you don't have a tie. I like doing 3s at the national convention because the models they'll do 4 or 5s or 7s, okay? But 3 typically for a local contest is fine. That way you can. And then you still, like the Hope It Don't Snow show, I got a 4th involved because we were kind of having difference of opinion. And I wanted to make sure that one of the judges was comfortable with the decision, so I went and got somebody else. I said, I'm not going to tell you what's up. I just want you to look, tell me what you say first, second, third is. And Dennis got outvoted on that one. But you had perfect, what your concerns were good concerns, and that's the reason why I brought somebody in as a, yeah, thank you. All right. Let's see. Simple answer basics, do open turret suspension. Okay. An AFV with a super detailed open turret on a suspension with pigeon-toed tracks is like a mansion built on sand. It's beautiful, but it's sitting on a weak foundation, and that would be the downfall, which is correct. When modelers casually look at entries on the table, they usually are taken with the extra detail or added the unusual or a perfectly executed paint job, but I'm going to single Chuck Coleman out here because a lot of times we've been at stuff and, Jack, that's it right there, that's it. So, Chuck, look at the build, okay? So after we get through that, then usually, oh, okay, I see what you're talking about now. I see what you're talking about now. So we got to get through the wow factor. When you're judging these models, from a distance, hey, that's the best model on the table. Get up to it and look at it, and then tell me if it's the best model on the table, okay? Judges look first to see how well the model is made, and they notice flaws the casual observer will usually overlook because of the wow factor. Let's get that. All right, accuracy. This is another hot topic in the IPMS world. Absolute accuracy is noble, but probably unattainable, despite the fact that no scale model is ever 100% accurate. All right, so you're not going to accuracy. Some people urge that models be judged principally on their accuracy. This is a real minefield. While gross inaccuracy is easy to spot, in some instances, the situation quickly becomes murky past obvious things and can lead to unfairness in judging. How many times have I been with somebody that served on this piece of equipment through Vietnam, the desert, this and that, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and I know that wouldn't be right. Don't tell me the crap. I had one guy tell me we were judging Abrams, and he was telling me that wouldn't be this, that wouldn't be that. Hey, I served around them too when I was in the military, and guess what? Yeah, I saw them just like that. So I don't know why you're saying that it's wrong. Let's look at the model and see how it's built. Then we'll decide from there what we need to do. Okay? Somebody had brought up the point, some modelers, they're working real good on this, that, and the other. Ooh, I just messed it up right there. I got an idea. They throw a tarp on it. Just make it disappear. Or a decal. Or a decal or something, yeah. So, honestly, in the IPMS world, we do look at that as suspect, all right? Now, we can't see what you're covering up with that tarp, but you know what? You don't have a tarp over here. You don't have stuff hanging over here, so you know what? He's got a tarp right there. Let's look real hard, and usually when we see a tarp here or a bedroll there, we kill you on the rest of it. Oh, okay, well, he was trying to hide that, but he didn't hide that. He didn't hide that. So it kind of actually backfires a lot of times, people tarping and covering, and then, you know, it's like, you put that tank in a category, you put it out of box offer, okay? Tarps didn't come with the tank, we're not judging the tarps. We're not judging anything, but we are gonna look to see if, you know, say it came with the tank, it's all great, it's all good. Please make sure that, you know, we don't count it, but at the same time, don't put it on there unpainted and this, that, and the other, because that kind of throws off the consistency. It's kind of a contradiction in terms there, but, make the tarp look good. Don't just throw it on there and go from there. But, so with that, watch your tarps, watch hide stuff. Try to hide it with paint. Hide it with creative weathering. Try to stay away from hiding it because, well, I scratched that, I should have done that. Because it kind of makes the judges on a national level look a little harder than the rest of them. Sad but true, just it is what it is. Let's see. Lest we get too wrapped up in the accuracy debate, remember that IPMS USA judges concentrate first on the modeling aspects. Model with every component built absolutely accurately probably still won't win if there are seams between the components, all right? Are the judges a bunch of nitpickers? Some modelers have accused the judges of negativism and of being nothing but glorified nitpickers. All the models in any category on the table will be ranked, and that's what we have to do. Right? You put the model down, you're wanting to be ranked, we're going to take it. If you're that good, then we have to become a nitpicker. We have to find what's wrong with it, all right, which is a good thing. Modelers have brought their models to be evaluated and to compete for prizes. At the level of most of our contests, difference in ranking are probably going to be the result of some pretty small issues and has been at basic modeling techniques, all right? So, yes, we're a bunch of nitpickers. And then there's one down here. If the judges aren't a bunch of nitpickers, why do they use those darn little flashlights? Well, in some cases, especially in earlier years, like that lighting right there, if we had models down there, there's no way we can look at because of the lack of light, okay? Most places you go to has enough light to where you can look at it, but at the same time, I take my flashlight out and run it against the spine of this thing, I can see any molds, which there's none on this one, but I can see a dip for where there's a seam line. Or this barrel, I can run it across the top and see if there's a seam line. This flashlight pulls all that out. That's the reason why we use it, because when it comes down to this tank and that tank, who's going to get first? Well, let's see who has a mold seam. Who has this? Who has that? That's when these little flashlights come in handy. It helps cast shadow where you need it to cast it, and it helps you figure out what you got going on. That's my official IPMS. So yeah, when you see the flashlights, I know a lot of people, it actually makes them angry. When they see those come out, it's like, oh my gosh, get flashlights. I didn't build the first one on. Well,
That's because they know there's a flaw there.
exactly. That's exactly why they get upset, because they know that they're going to get busted. All right. I've seen guys pull out magnifying glasses. Well, they get pissed about that too. But you know what? Sorry. Sometimes I build mine with an optimizer. So yeah, if you want to use an optimizer, I'm going to go for it. Do what you got to do to find what's what. Maybe you'll find a problem.
Maybe they got weak eyes.
Got weak eyes, exactly. Get used to these little things, and don't get mad because you see one come out. Sometimes that's what makes or breaks a model. Let's see. All right, model slipped off, seat gets broken. The judging process does take into account if an aerial gets popped off or a gun gets popped off. They take that into account. Set it next to the model, say it got broken. It is looked at, all right? But if it falls on the ground and you break a wing off or you break a stabilizer off or whatever, just put it back in the car, because with that broke off, we can't see if it lines up. It's gone, so there's no way to check symmetry. Well, we could on this one and that, but that one, initially, you could have saw it out. Oh shit, this one, I'll just break it off. Oh, it fell and broke off. So just put it back in. If you break aerials and stuff, that happens. That's okay. Break like rear view mirrors. Let's break off, you're okay. Lose a whole wheel, I don't know about that. I think I would put it back in the car and call it a day. All right. And I'm going to say this because I say it pretty much every meeting I go to with you guys and everywhere I go. And if you really want to learn what separates the winning models from the rest of the entries in a category, next time you're at a one-day show or regional, volunteer to judge, all right? Trust me, I don't like it. I've already been signed up for Winston-Salem and Raleigh. All right, these guys have already called me and said, James, we need you to judge when you get here. All right, great. That just shot my lunch, okay? That's the reason why our show, we feed the judges, because we know that they're doing work to help us with the show, so we feed them, all right? That just shot my lunch down. I can't go hang out with this guy, I can't go hang out with that guy. But those same guys will come back later and say, well, hey, that was our great judge. They said, don't talk to me about that. I don't want to hear that. If you were so interested in the outcome of the show, you butt at the show and judge. This is my first action, so I don't want to be bothered with that.
He's quoting me.
Yes.
So you know.
Yeah. And that's right, I am quoting you, and I'm saying that I don't want to hear you bitch at the end of the show, that model should have won that model should have won that. You know what, I don't want to hear it. Well, if you think so, you should have been involved in the judging process. And let me tell you something.
I'm guilty.
Everything that I've done, I've learned from the judging process. These guys have taught me so much. Oh, okay, I didn't think about that. Oh, okay, that's something for the next model. I've learned everything I know about model building has come from the judging process. I mean, learning what I learned.
James.
Let's see, what other subjects? Will the judges pick up my model? All right. This is IPMS. Short answer is yes, and for two main reasons. First, since models are three-dimensional representations of full-size three-dimensional subjects, models need to be judged in 3 dimensions, so judges may have to handle models to evaluate all sides of an entry in a consistent manner. Secondly, as the number of entries at any given model show cannot be predicted in advance, it may be necessary to move models to make appropriate space available on tables. That's their 2 main reasons, all right? I agree, but I disagree. If I can walk up to a model and I can disqualify you from looking at the top of it, I'm not touching the bottom of it. I'm not moving it, I'm not playing with it. If this model and this model, 2 airplanes sitting side by side, I can't find anything, then I'll pick it up. If I have to look underneath, because there are some modelers that think they get the top right, they don't have to worry about the bottom. I've seen that firsthand. That's so funny. I love that. That's usually how I'm able to determine first, second, third.
Can you pick up bases and flip them like you're playing there? Could you take it up and flip it?
And that's actually a good question, and that's the reason why these are glued. They're all epoxied in place. So if a judge wants to pick it up and do that with it, he can look underneath it, and that's the reason why I put them on the bases I put them on, so you can still see all the relevant detail as you spin it around. I was at a show, and I've told most of you guys, I had a judge grab my model, pick it up and look underneath it. I got first place, but I also had 2 fingerprints I could never get rid of because that monkey decided to.
I saw that at the end, so you guys picked it up and turned up like that.
Yeah.
And 2 at Addison, that same show we were talking about, the guy, of the top aircraft judge, first thing he did is he picks up the 109, drops it and crashes it, lets it fall into a raid and then breaks the raid. And I said, now what's going to get first now?
Exactly.
You don't need to pick them up like that.
Exactly. If you don't have to pick them up, don't, but a lot of times you do. That's the reason why these things are on basis, so you can look at it, you can pick it up. You're not touching my model, but you can see you can see up into the wheelbase, you can see everything, and it's on a mirror on top of that, so that way you can make sure, yeah, he filled all that. So that's the reason why I display these things the way I do.
I actually have a little round mirror that you can extend under the model.
Yeah, but then I've actually seen a guy pop off an aerial, he was putting underneath, and he popped off an aerial underneath. That's same thing with this one. This one's not glued as well, but you can still pick it up and look underneath it and see if you see any problems. And that's the reason why I put them on the smaller bases and the nose extend over and such, because I want you to be able to pick it up and see what you're looking for. And that way the judges don't have to touch my model, but they can still pick it up and look at it. And they do make a point. And with last on the list is what is an out-of-box model? Well, that's basically a model built out of the box. You don't do anything to it. They do let you do decals, which that's actually starting to change a little bit. Let's see. Now, this is something else that they're getting to. Each contest that you go to, the nationals have their rules. Local and regional contests do not have to follow that rule set, all right? They're asked asked and encouraged to do so, but they don't necessarily follow the rules. I like following the national rules because that keeps it consistent, all right? But some groups don't. They say, we'll let you do this, we'll let you do that, we're not gonna let you do this. And find out before you go to the show, look at their rules and see what they give you and what they don't want you to do. For instance here, used to, out of the box meant that you could, you basically replaced seam lines, issues and stuff like that. Thin parts like the trailing edges of airplanes, you thin them down, make them look scale. They're saying here now, there are also limits as to what you can do with these parts. In some classes, you can drill out gun barrels, and others you can add rigging, but you may not be able to thin a part or open a vent. Okay? Depends on the show. These limits are established as representing more or less what the average modeler would do to a model. Out of the box, and I talked to Dennis about this, out of the box, should more advanced modelers be allowed into that? I don't think so. I'm getting to the point, I build out of the box because I don't want every one of my models to be a piece of metal and plastic. I mean, I like to sit and build one, just have fun every once in a while. Now, I don't want to enter that in a, which this one I've gotten away with it. But typically, an out-of-the-box model won't stand up against a really well-built, super detailed creature from beyond, So, out-of-box, I think we should go to amps, basic, intermediate, advanced, master. If you won a couple of nationals, you compete in master. You won a couple, 2, 3 regionals, you compete in advanced.
Yeah, and if they have a category in the Masters for like an out-of-box, that's what he should play. He should not go up against someone who's just coming.
Exactly. And that's kind of where you can do if you want to do the out-of-box, do out-of-box basic, out-of-box advanced. Right. And we may do that at the regionals. I may do that just for grins and giggles to see how it turns out. All right. Now comes...
I have a question.
Yeah.
What if you have a judge that ain't worth a darn? As I showed you one of the regionals. I come and got you and showed you the model. The very next day, he's in the hobby shop looking at a bottle of paint, trying to see it up close.
Well, that particular model that you're talking about was actually going to get thrown out when I came in and I looked at it based on what it was up against. It got first place because, and you're going to run into that. There's no way around that problem. That's the reason for the 3 5-man judging teams is, okay, well, this one guy is not doing worth a crap. Well, the other 3 of us or 4 of us can say, okay, that's the one we want, all right? It's always us 3 out, vote that one, all right? I told you these 3 have won nationals, and as far as, there's a blue spot here or whatever. That one's first, 3rd, 2nd. That's just out of the box. I've got some stuff that I'm working on that's super detailed, and I've had to go through a lot and get it cleaned up. But this just gives you kind of what has placed in a national event, all right? Chuck, what did you do? You went to the AMPS Nationals.
That one ran the gamut. It's taken a gold.
But at the AMPS Nationals.
AMPS Nationals, you took a bronze,
Okay.
deservingly so.
Okay.
And then I took a silver, I believe, with it too.
Okay.
And it ran the gamut.
All right.
Same model, yeah.
That's the other thing. When you go to these shows, don't get upset about what you're going to go. This particular one did actually come in 3rd at one show. I mean, same guys I've been beating at all the other shows, but it got 3rd at this one show because I think there was some. This is John's model over here. Let's go ahead and give him first place. We'll give this guy second. You run into that. Don't let it bother you. It is what it is. Just keep going. Yes, sir.
So essentially what you're saying is that the model with the least amount of defects is the winner?
Pretty much. Yes. End of story.
Summed it up.
Bottom line. Basics. All right.
This one has 5 defects, this one has 4, this one has 3.
And sometimes the defects get down to the defects almost come out where you got to flip a coin. Then what do you do? That's when everybody walks away and regroups and comes back and looks at it and that's when we start picking it up and getting underneath and looking at all your other stuff.
I've had that happen with that.
I guess that's what I was asking. You look for judges, but you want to qualify them.
Yeah.
Obviously, that guy wasn't qualified to be a judge.
Well, you're right. He wasn't. But at the same time, he was because he's judged at locals. He's judged at regionals. He's judged at nationals.
If you can't see, you can't be a judge.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
And trust me, I have made that known. But again,
But the problem there, and I'm not saying
That's-
you're wrong,
that's very
I know what you're talking about, and you're right, but the problem was, in that category, they went out and asked for people to volunteer to help judge it and got nothing. So you got what you had.
That's true too.
Basically, that's what happened that day.
And Chuck, thank you for saying that. That goes back to that point I was telling you about judging. If y'all want to go eat lunch over here at Buck's Barbecue, go for it. When you get back, the judges that are judging, that's what you get, because nobody else, I'm gonna go to Buck's, so I'll see y'all later. Okay? That's the reason why I always put my hand up and I judge, and yes, it cuts into my, time at the show, but at the same time, I know that I'm helping make sure that something like that doesn't happen. And I can step in and say, oh no, I don't agree with that, and I'll take it to the head judge. Help judge, be involved, and you will learn and you will be able to help somebody else down the road. You will basically, you step in, that guy can't do it, you just saved a lot of problems.
Because in automotive, there's no question in my mind.
Well, my car was in that class.
Well, and what was wrong with it, according to him, was not wrong with it. So I know exactly what you're talking about. But you, however, are a well-qualified automotive judge.
Yes.
There's no reason, it's like I'm a qualified armor judge. There's no reason really that we don't judge.
No,
There really isn't.
And the more y'all judge, the more you learn, the better you get. It'll show in your models. All right, now let's get down to the next part. I'm gonna go through and I'm just gonna pick out a couple of things I saw, all right? Everybody else here looked and you saw what you saw, all right? I'm not gonna pick these things apart down to the nub. I don't tend to do that. I'm gonna, and really, what I'm doing is showing you what an IPMS judge, when they walk up to the table, when I came and I looked at the models, I went down the line. I did a quick once over, I picked up what I didn't like about it, and I went to the next one, okay? That's what IPMS judges will do. They'll walk up, they'll look, typically most of the more seasoned guys, they'll look at all the models and everything, and they're checking this, that, the other, but when they're looking, it's okay, you see that problem, let's see, okay, that's got that, let's see, that doesn't, and then you pick your top, all right? That's it. Don't nobody get mad at me. You brought these here for me to do this, and I'm gonna do this.
Go for it. They gotta learn, they don't wanna hear it.
Now,
That's what we brought them.
SCMA, they have, most of you guys, you vote on what wins, and that's where the wow factor comes in. Say, this model right here has beautiful paint job. Well, it got first place, all right, or it got picked best of. Well, let's get up and look at it. And now, this one here, an IPMS, if IPMS judge walks up to it, number one, there's a finger smudge, fingerprint right there. Then you've got a spot right there.
On the windshield or in the paint?
It's on the back side of the windshield, on the inside. Okay, so you can't get it, you can't do anything. That actually hurts you, all right?
Yeah.
Now, where it was dropped, this right here would hurt you, but
That
like you
just
said, yeah, if you write on your entry form, dropped chip paint on rear spoiler, then we'll look at that. We'll look at the rest of the car. But you got a wheel right here that's cocked out, okay? See how it's cocked out?
Probably when it was dropped.
Yep. So when you set it on the table, make sure everything is like what you just did. Judges are going to come up to the cars, they're going to look, see if all four tires are touching. This tire back here, because it was dropped, and again indicated on your sheet, is not touching flat like the other three, okay? That will count against you. All the seams and everything look good. But with that being said, that fingerprint and that spot and that tire would have knocked you out. And say you put it down there and you didn't fix it and you walked away from it,
Right.
that would have taken you, that would have put you back here while we looked at the other ones.
Now it's fixed, right?
Yes, now it's fixed. That's the reason why I'm saying when you put it on the table, make sure everything's lined up, all right? Your tires are turned. If that car, which I guess on that car, the tires will be straight. They need to be straight, even turned. Like on the Hedemog, when they turn, they kind of go cockeyed, but that's just the way that vehicle is.
They were independent.
Yes, so that you can get away with, but on a car, it's typically straight and true.
You talking about front wheels?
Mhm.
Those aren't true.
I don't really look at that, but I'll just use that as an example.
So, he's not invited to building, does
He is.
Actually, no, Chuck, this tire right here, with the turn, this one is cocked just a little bit, okay?
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, now, I'm not gonna go,
No,
I'm gonna go to this one next. And when I came up to this one, what hit me first was you've got a smudge right here on your windshield, okay? That hurt you right there. This wheel is cocked that way. Front wheel, you look straight on, this wheel's not touching the table. Okay, the other three are, but that one, so that one just kind of,
Okay.
all right? I've judged this thing so many times, I don't want to talk about it.
Go ahead, have at it.
Actually, Chuck, yours,
For the video purposes, do it.
okay. This one here, what's got you in the past when I've judged that the amp shows everything is your road wheels. You look at them, you have just a little slight, they kind of have, they can't, as you go, if you look down from the front to the back, they can't, okay? And you've got this track here, when you look down the line, this track's got a little bit more of a seam, or a little bit more of a gap than the rest of them. And again, it's pinky stuff, all right? I was trying to, what else was it that you were gigged for on this? Somebody else had gigged you on a handle. I didn't agree with that, but that was one of the amp shows. I didn't see it. He said he did, so that's how that one kind of got hit. But otherwise, you did good on your bill. I think your tracks were, I think they said something, this track here had a little bit of a cant to it, but I didn't.
It needed to be adjusted.
Yeah, but I didn't see it at the time. All right, now we're gonna move on to Ed. Ed's gonna throw something at me, but, again, on the real car, would these wheels be touching that exhaust?
Touching?
Yeah, touching, actually touching. Your exhaust
Is it
sit-
touching?
Yes, your exhaust on both sides are sitting, well, no, on this one it's okay. On this side, it's laying on the wheel.
No, it's not.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
And that's two question? No.
Okay. This wheel, front wheel is canted.
I see it.
Okay. Those two right there are gonna push you out.
Okay, yep.
Same thing like right here on your engine. Your gap going around the engine is not consistent. It's thin up here, but as you come around the backside, it gets wider.
The blower thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there, that's just a couple things right off the top. Otherwise, without picking it up, but that right there, and you got some kind of spot right here. I don't know if it's where it needed to be sanded out or whatever. But you see on your,
Yeah, the clock.
you know, you didn't clean it up. It's got a little glob to it. This one, I'm just gonna hit, you got eggshell paint. That would throw you out in the cars. When you get to this one, are those supposed to be sticking out like that?
No, but I put chrome tape around it to make it look like it.
That's what I thought. This wheel is canted in, all right? When I walk up to it, and that's all it takes, all right, to get you knocked out.
Good, you good.
Don't throw anything, I'm just telling you. And again, you got a hole here that has nothing in it. What is that for? That right there. What's that hole for?
The hood prop.
Okay, good. Well, do me a favor. You need to indicate or put the hood prop there. Otherwise, they're saying, why didn't you fill the hole? Because these are questions we ask when we're going through.
Understand.
Again, being nitpicky, your trunk here, the trunk lid is not consistent all the way around. It's high here, but then it goes into the, so this is stuff that they get you in IPMS, all right? So don't get mad at me.
No.
All right, this one here,
Apologizing, Mr. Moody.
well,
Don't keep apologizing.
Yeah, don't apologize.
I hate doing this, but this is what we find.
What's your address?
This one here actually turned out, as far as issues with it, I didn't see, other than you've got a mold line right here that needed to be cleaned up, sanded out.
Right.
And this wheel here is slightly canted, but not a, if this one and another one sit side by side, then we'd have to look, see which one was, you can see there's a little bit of glue right here where you glued it's
The glass.
glossy. You see how it's glossy there, but it's not over here? If it was glossy all the way across, it'd be okay. It's just gotta be symmetrical, okay? We'll go on to the next one.
All right.
All right, now,
That's
You got
right.
what I saw on that?
Man is right.
just wait a minute, let me get done, and then I'm gonna let y'all kind of chime in what you saw.
We're gonna bitch at yours is what we're gonna do.
Please do. Bitch at it. Just wait a minute.
He's not
Wait
finished.
a minute, let me get done here. All right,
What's his name? I forgot his name. Dennis White. There you go, Mr. White.
wheels look pretty good on that one, but one of the things that jumps out is this decal has got silvering. You can see the silvering, right? As soon as I walked up to it, I saw the silver.
Camera's even catching that.
Yeah. Then you've got, on this one, you've got inconsistent seams. You got it where it's seam, fills in, seam. This seam is wider than that seam, all right? So you see the inconsistency of the seams. That right there would be enough to push it out of contention.
There's an opening there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, this Focke Wolf. First thing I did was I looked at the main wing right here. I looked at the stabilizer in the back. Cattywomper. The stabilizer's like this, the wing's like that. Not to mention his wheel right here is cattywompered and pushed in, so these two are not symmetrical. This one does not match up to that.
Busted.
This one comes out farther than that, but the biggest thing that gets me on this is when I look down, I look at the wing, and I see a cattywomper tail, I'm like, that ain't gonna make it. All right, let's go to the next one. This one, the wheels have, again, on both sides, and tanks are very bad about that. Unless you jig them up, they cattywomper a little going down the line. You look at it straight on, down that straight seam, that's what you run into. Okay, you also have an inconsistent seam here. You got a seam, but then it kind of disappears to right here. And that's the main thing on that. Now, this one is still in process, but I want to show you, your wheel has a seam in it going around it. You've got glue spots right there.
I haven't picked that yet.
Yeah, you've got a seam right here that needs to, it does have a seam on the spine,
Doesn't have it in the
but it doesn't have it right there.
Right.
That stabilizer is up a little higher than that, so it doesn't true with the
Is
wings.
that the Fujima?
Yes.
And
And
the
that's-
front landing gear a little longer.
Actually started-
Before the other, it's longer, the left side is before the right.
Yes, that landing gear is out further than the other.
Got that.
And again,
I screwed up the wheel.
That's fixable.
all that is fixable. I'm sorry, who am I stepping on?
Wasn't sitting, I was like,
Oh, also make sure that you get your mold line right here,
Right,
going right there.
yeah.
And your wing roots here need to be consistent. You've got a wider area than over here than you got there, so.
And these are all things that would knock you out of competition.
That's what I'm, that's all things that will get you in competition.
Tracks off.
Wheels are cattywompered. You got this right here as far as the track where it went together. Inconsistent seam. That's the reason I'm saying when you walk up to a table, that's how quick you can be eliminated.
Right.
Just by walking up to it.
Same with the other one.
Yeah, I had looked, you had cattywompered wheels on this. Tanks are hard to get past that. You really have to jig the wheels to make
Right.
them look. Again, inconsistent seam. This is flush, but on this side, it's like it's sticking up. The deck is up a little bit higher than on this side. This one here.
Tracks are off.
Yep, tracks are off, and you got cattywompered wheels.
I was gonna spit on it just to piss him off.
And again, that will knock you, that's kind of what you're typically up against, cattywompered wheels, especially, national competition. That pretty much knocks you out of it. Unless the other guys come in with cattywompered wheels that are worse shape than yours.
Well, a lot of times you gotta look at that, don't you? I mean, it's a
Yeah, you
matter
have
of who's the worst.
Yes.
Everybody's got cattywamper, but.
Yeah, that's true. And what you're looking for, well, that one's got 3 cattywampers, but that one's got 4, okay? My pet peeve, and all judges, every judge that you run into, they each have their own things. Mine's glue. If I see a glue spot, I have issues because I don't allow for glue spots on mine. And of course, you got the broken track right here.
Right.
So that would, all those 3 or 4 things right there would knock you out. Got a mold seam back here on this. So stuff like that. Just simple, quick stuff.
If a person,
Of that canopy, the real one showing those tits. That's all they want. They just want to see a picture of it to make sure it's real.
Well, just like on the show that I was talking to you about, I waited till after the trophies are handed out and stuff. But I showed you, the guy painted chrome. The chrome trim wasn't even done on the car.
Right.
I mean, if they're gonna do that or on aircraft or armor, they need to be consistent on their car judging too.
side trim or windshield.
I agree with you.
That's 100% right. All the judging, and this is what I was getting back to, local and regional shows don't necessarily follow the IPMS, the national. And all of it, that's the reason why my show, the one we do it, we're doing it Burns, it follows, I want it to follow IPMS-based rules and regulations. That way it's fair to everybody, all right? And that's the reason why I want you guys
That's
to.
why I waited till it was all over with, and came back and showed you what.
Side chrome or window chrome?
And it states in that handbook, chrome. Okay, go ahead.
On custom cars, as you
I'm not
know,
talking about custom cars.
You want to get inside of it and look, you want to see down the
No,
cockpit?
I already found stuff.
Okay, what's your phone?
okay.
Show me.
See that? Inconsistency. It doesn't go all the way around.
Where at?
Right there.
Yeah, they didn't catch that.
Right here.
Frustrating.
See the way there's a gap?
Move that over.
Oh, okay.
There's a bigger gap there than there is here.
They didn't catch that.
Panel lines, see the way it stops right there?
No, keep it. Take the light off, you can see it. Well, right there it goes,
Yep,
yeah.
yep, I found those places.
Okay.
I mean, this is nitpicky.
Yeah, exactly, that's what I'm saying. They didn't catch that.
But what I'm saying is.
So, yeah, and I will be the first to tell you that none of these are perfect. There's plenty of flaws in there. I just, do they catch them? That's the other thing. They
I
gotta
built
catch
this,
them.
this is bang.
Yeah.
You did a really good
Well,
job
thank
on
you.
this.
I basically stretched all my screws.
Oh, there's a glue mark right there.
Where's that? Where you see?
Right there, you see the shiny spot?
Yes, sure enough. They didn't
This
catch
is not
that.
where the pallet blues nose out there.
But Dennis, remember this too. That day at the Nationals, that model was second in that class because they didn't
Oh,
catch
yeah,
it.
yeah, oh, yeah.
I could go to the next contest and not do, they might see this or catch that.
Jake, I don't take offense. I'm glad you're doing this. Anybody that takes offense.
The only thing I'm gonna be really honest, the flashlight thing is out of scale.
And I agree with that.
Cause you're like putting 1,000,000 times candle power. It's like a miniature sun. That's why I don't agree with the flashlight thing.
And I agree with that too. Do you know over in England, when they do this, there they have a barrier like at Telford? They look at the models from a distance, and that's how they don't judge them up close like that.
Really?
Yes.
That's all gotta be paint then.
And
The
like
wow
he
factor.
said, I agree with the flashlight thing because, sometimes, and the only time I'll pull out a flashlight, if I'm looking at a barrel or I'm looking at a seam. Otherwise, I don't pull it out.
I can't see that glue spot without the light.
Exactly.
I can see the other stuff here without the light.
Right.
I use a flashlight.
This is, look, see, talking about this grab handle, I see a hole back.
Yeah, that didn't put a grab handle right there.
No, I'm talking about right
I
here.
think he would say,
See that,
I said grab handles.
right, this one right
Yeah,
here?
there's a grab handle there.
Yeah, but there's, I see a recess around it.
Right there?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that, they didn't either.
Where's the grab handle supposed to
Y'all don't know, you're in bad shape.
be? Right here?
Grab handle here,
You think this will help you
here,
guys?
here.
Sorry.
That's accuracy, that's accuracy.
No, that's middle.
No, that's accuracy.
That's
I disagree, that's
You
accuracy.
can disagree all you want, but you're wrong.
Well, all right, what kind of judge is that? That's accuracy.
You gonna tell
But I have been at model shows where this has been, we have argued over.
I have done that.
Now, I will say that Dennis White is the most argumentative judge I've ever worked with in my entire damn life. I will say that.
Are you gonna look at the in-progress stuff? and tell me?
I can if you want me
Yeah,
to,
that's fine.
but,
Wow, look at that.
but like what you were talking about chrome. Chrome parts, if you use what's in the box, and out of the box, you can't re-chrome it and all this stuff. I mean, you can strip it and you
You
can
can't
paint
use bare
it.
metal foil?
You can use that, but you can't take it out, you can't send it out to be chromed.
Well, I mean, that looks good. He just painted chrome. The car was red, he painted everything red.
Okay.
Well, you got this strap right here.
It's wrong, exactly. That's the reason why you need to be a judge in the process.
there's a flaw.
But when you have somebody, you know who we're talking about.
What?
You know who we're talking about. I think everybody does.
Well, let's get this, get back to where you wanted to be. It's getting a little sidetracked.
Yes, it is. All right, sit down, Judge. All right, well, that being said, I want to do this kind of quick. Chuck, real quick, what'd you, and don't go nitpick.
I'm not going to, I'm going straight up.
Just kind of pick out one here.
I didn't look at this one in detail, so I can't comment. This one we discussed, the grab handles, you know, I had problems with antennas whipping like that.
Yeah.
And a few areas possibly on the tracks was questionable.
But at the end of the day, your problem with the antenna is irrelevant.
Well, I can't judge it because of IPMS rules, but, so therefore it is irrelevant.
Yes.
Same as this. I know there's flaws on this that no one has mentioned.
Well, we're not talking about yours.
So,
Let's talk
I'm
about,
not gonna say anything. Same as you said here, I question orange peeling on the hood, on the top of here, of the vehicle, but I don't know about the vehicle, so I can't say for sure. So I'd have to have the documentation. If I were a judge, I would say that's orange peel.
yes.
Okay? Same here, same what you said here, same as what you said here, and Dennis gets his big head out of the way. The only thing I saw extra that you didn't mention were floaters on the boat wheels.
And I didn't go through nitpicky, but I saw that
Crazy
too.
as hell.
I did see that too.
No floaters on that.
Here we go. Here comes the cars.
Here it comes.
No, I don't have to use a car.
Here comes the
Like
judge.
here,
You're crazy, there ain't no floater there.
there's floaters here. You can look and see.
I didn't see them.
We're already on, you'll find.
Oh, hell, I'm seeing them from back here.
And same as what you said down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, did anybody see anything different? Chuck, you're a car modeler. Ed, you're a car modeler. What did you see for your walkthrough? Did you see anything different or more or less? Or?
I can't, it's hard for me to judge the armor.
Yeah.
Because I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I
And
think
I'm trying to, I'm like building them, and I helped at the last Hope It Don't Snow Show a little bit, and I helped in Simpsonville again this year on armor. There's one thing I did see, and I don't know if it's supposed to be there or not.
I saw less than you did, but I.
What's the grab handle on it too?
Can I borrow your light? and you
Yeah.
can- I'm not gonna pick anybody in the whole
Pick my part. That one sucks.
I know what's wrong with mine, go for it.
Everybody on the goals tonight.
Yeah.
The floaters is plural. The English language, that makes it
You saw one, okay.
It's
okay.
I want to judge you guys.
We go back and forth though.
That would be good.
I wore my striped referee shirt.
I'm gonna be honest with you, if you find something wrong on my tag,
I did.
I'm saying, if you do, what you find out?
See?
Well, look down and see the cane on the wheels.
See, I can't.
My relationship with every person.
Go straight down, Chuck.
You see cane bumper?
Now line up the flashlight down the sides.
You have to look down too. Look at it.
Sit down, see here, look, I know, it doesn't here, and here.
I know, it's supposed to, but it's not. There's,
No, there's just not a heavy shadow in there. See, it's
well, then there would be a heavy shadow in there.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
No, but
You see it, that's fine.
We-
But I'm
We're
just
back
saying,
together again.
you know,
All right, I say that. And I thought I saw this, but I might be wrong.
Hey,
A
James,
lot of things.
I wouldn't let this two judges go.
I'm not, they're not gonna judge together. Now, something else I wanted to mention too, as far as judging goes,
That is.
over the years, I don't think you should, people who judge the category should have at least placed in the category, okay? I feel qualified to judge cars because I placed in the category, and I'm getting more and more hanging around with the car guys. I see more and more stuff that I'm looking for.
Not interrupting you, but I'm glad you said that. I don't feel that I'm qualified to be a car judge because I'm not placed in a car judge.
But with that being said, if I get you hooked up with Chuck,
Yeah.
Chuck can teach you. That's what I'm saying. That's the reason why I like for you guys to kind of intermix, like during the SMA, which that's all the voting.
Simpsonville.
Yeah, Simpsonville.
No, not on automotive.
Yeah, but the automotive stuff, the more these guys judge automotive, the more they can learn about what to look for in here.
You know, some of the SEMA guys have talked to, they really like to judge shows over the popular vote.
And that's because everybody gets, if you've got a good panel of judges, I think you get a more fair assessment of your work.
Popular vote, paint and foil, wins hands down, cars.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's pretty,
Well, that's just
there's no thought to the creativity put into it, the work put into it. Oh, that's such a pretty color, I'm gonna vote for number 10.
Exactly. And again, when judging cars in IPMS, they do look at all that. They look at what's involved and what he's built, what
Well,
the
they gotta know what the
complexity.
kid started at.
Exactly, and that's where, like with you, you know, when you, how you do your stuff, if you take, a lot of guys will do picture albums, do pictures, show them all the work they put into it, that actually helps you. But anyway, are there any other questions concerning the way this thing works?
No, I don't
I've got one on tracks.
Okay?
How many times do you gig a track before you say, okay, the track's bad? Like, let's just, I'm gonna use Chuck's, and I'm not.
know. Use mine.
Well, I'm just gonna use an example. Okay, let's say you got a floater. Okay, that's one. Then let's say that it should be a sag there, but there's not.
That's two.
Okay, then where the tracks join together, it's not quite.
That's three.
You just keep summing them up? Okay.
What I just did was, when I walked up to the models, I told you what I first saw when I walked up to the table, what would put you out, put you in, this, that, and the other. That was the first impression when I walked up to it. Now, once you make that cut, and then it comes down to this one, and that one, then I start getting, okay, who's first, second, third? Let's look at this, let's look at that. That's when I start getting, the gigs start coming up. I say, well, this one has this has this one has this, and this. That one has this, and this, and then that's how you basically come back to, that's first, second, third. And honestly, just like you're a Focke-Wulf, I walk up and I see your tail plane not lined up with your main wing, and I see your wheels cattywampering, you're out.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can come back later, but that one would not be in the top
Oh,
thing.
no.
I noticed on the airplanes, the antenna wires laying.
But that's accurate for
Yeah.
an airplane.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the way it's supposed to look?
What that would tighten, when they pull the canopy up, that would tighten it up.
Oh, cool.
But that's
See, I
not,
think that's neat as-
but see, that's the thing, that's not true on all Focke-Wulfs. The older Focke-Wulfs, the 190s, those were on the spring-loaded piece that was in the canopy. When you pulled it back, it stayed taut the whole time.
Yeah,
That's cool.
just on the D's.
Yeah. Well, actually, some of the late model,
The A's too had it?
yeah, some of the late not the A8s, but after that.
Only the 8-9.
Well, A9 and what, I think,
G model.
and the G, yeah.
Well, you gotta be, because that's what people need to know.
So any questions, any comments?
I'm good.
Do you understand what I was trying to do?
I would like to say this. I
Yeah.
think you did a great job. There's
Yeah.
no question of what you've done here. I do feel, though, that if we're gonna be, as a group, judges, we gotta know what we're looking at.
Exactly.
And that's not always the case. So we need to know the subject, such as like tracks, certain tracks.
Like, I won't throw Chuck into an armor category and say go for it. That's what's
What I'm saying is, as a judge, we need to know, and I'll use my model as an example. A Sherman they had taunt tracks.
Right,
They didn't have sacks.
right.
because it's a manufactured thing, where German vehicles tend to have
Sag.
more of a sag, not a heavy sag.
But with that being said, and I'm glad you said that, I can knock you out long before I get to saggy tracks.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, that alone, I'm just using tracks, talking about tracks as an example,
Mhm.
should be an issue.
Mhm.
People need
But-
to know what they're looking at.
Well,
Yeah, exactly,
That's
but
just
it-
like an antenna wire in that aircraft, I didn't know that.
But if you go to Buck's Barbecue with your buddies to eat lunch, and there's this tank, and I
Oh,
say,
you
well,
can't
there's
write
Chuck,
about it.
let's get
You
Chuck
can't
in.
write about it. I'm just
Exactly.
saying, I'm talking as a group.
As a group.
If this whole thing was a purpose to teach and qualify proper judges, I thought that's what this is.
Yeah, it is.
Well, then, they have, as a group, we need to know the subjects, and we need to know what to judge properly.
Exactly, but when you get to sagging tracks, you shouldn't even get to that point.
Oh, I agree with you. We talked about tracks. I'm saying, I'm like you, I can go to a table, and I know 1, 2, 3,
Exactly.
but I'm not even gonna waste time with the others even
But you
looking
gotta
at it.
understand, I don't care, even in the most perfect model contest, you're not gonna have guys that know the Sherman, that know the Tiger, that know the Stone 3, that know the, Panzer 4. They don't know all the intricate details that you may know. That's the reason why that doesn't,
That's where the team comes into play, because I think you have somebody there that has that ability to step in when
All
you
right.
have to be in
Well,
there.
don't go to Chuck's Barbecue, stay with us
I agree
and
with
judge.
that, I agree.
And then we'll have that.
That's all
But
I
at the
have
end
to
of the
say.
day, there may be a variant of that Sherman that you're not that familiar with.
Sorry,
You know Sherman's, or say Tiger 1s. We're gonna use Tiger 1 as an example. You know Tiger 1's left sideways, and
Well,
you
I'm
might
like
come
pat
across
myself
something
on the
that-
back. I know anything pretty much about World War II armor, be it German, American, same thing on World War II aircraft. And I'm sorry, I mean, these so-called qualified judges don't know what they're looking at.
well, if we have more do this,
But I want us, and I'm talking about the other, I'm talking about us, we need to know if 109 has a seam down the spine.
well, then you will need to get with your group that
That's what
day.
I'm getting at.
The head judge should have this knowledge for that category.
There you go. That's all I'm saying.
But if everybody goes to lunch with you, then we don't have anybody to do it.
Yeah,
That's where I'm at. Well, if I didn't realize I was such a dire need.
So anyway,
You didn't.
if you don't have any more questions,
yeah, I do. What's a floater?
Ask Dennis.
It's when you look at Chuck's model and you see the wheel up above the track, but it should be on the bottom.
yes,
It's floating.
yes, it's not actually touching.
Yeah.
The wheel of that car was a floater. When it wasn't touching, that's a floater.
Floating.
Well, I fixed it.
Okay. Any questions? Do we need to do, I talked to Dennis, I talked to Chuck. Do y'all want to make this a monthly get-together until we get to the contest? Do you want to get more in-depth with this? What do y'all want to do? I need to know.
Honestly, for me, if you want honest feedback, if it's just gonna be going down like we're doing here,
No, we won't.
and we're not gonna get serious about it and really get into the fine thing of judging and how flaws should be detected from a build as far as putting a primer on, it's gonna show all the flaws.
Mhm.
If we're not gonna get into, while we're looking at that, I don't see the need to go any further,
Why not bring in progress bills instead of finished bills?
I think it's a good idea.
Because both those cars are a couple of years old now.
I think it's a good idea.
That's
I think next
Well, the
week,
whole point in this one was to give you the basics. And-
Right.
And that paperwork tells you, we're looking for the basics.
right,
Get past that, you
Why
can
why
judge
don't
it.
we do like
A car, or do it one for cars and one for this.
I think as a club project, we should start as a build and bring it in sessions, like a private
Right.
session.
Okay, Dennis?
yeah, bring in that, bring in a plane, a car, and an armor. And then every one of us look at that tank, what's wrong with it? And then everybody compare. All right, you got this, and this, and you got this, and this. And so everybody's kind of getting to a consistent, this is what's wrong with it. And then for an airplane, and then for a car,
That's what I was trying to say.
That's a good idea.
and then, then in process, or in progress, whatever.
Okay.
And doing that, so you can see, okay, this is what I need to fix before I put paint on it, or whatever.
Okay. Well, this tonight was just basically a primer for what we're looking for in IPMS national judgment, all right? Or any judging, really, basics. Like Ed said, whatever is not messed up the most, you know what I'm saying?
That